Aloha, everyone. This is Indar, and I'm your Hawaii money guy. And today we got a fun guest, my good friend Todd. He's on our podcast today, and we're just going to talk story. We're going to share some of our experience, strengths, and hopes, and some of the things that Todd's up to, and some of the great things that he can share to help you guys grow. Just before we get started, I'd love it if you guys could subscribe below, and that way we can reach more people and just help people make their money work for them in any different way we can. Thank you guys, and let's get started in today's content. So let's dive into it today, and let me welcome Todd, our first guest today.
What's up, Indar? I'm pumped up to be here with you, man.
Yeah, so Todd is in Ohio, born and raised there. Got a brokerage. He does some huge commercial stuff. He's got a ton of rentals as well. You want to give a little rundown of what you're up to up there?
Yeah, you hit most of it, man. I mean, I started off multifamily investing. That's kind of where I, jumped in with a quad and just became addicted to landlording. So, we got over 1,000 units in the Dayton, Ohio area. Mm-hmm. We flip, we wholesale. I'm a realtor. I have a team, so we're doing a little bit of everything. My wife and I do mental health group homes. We also have developmental disability service provider here in our area, so we do a little bit of that. And we're doing some new development, and most recently we're diving into the express car wash business. So kind of anything related around real estate that allows me to be diversified and kind of recession resistant. I'm in, man. I'm all in.
Yes. A little bit how me and Todd met. We were at a Maui mastermind, this kind of private group, invite only kind of group, where just high level individuals. I mean, it cost a lot just to even go to the event. So, everyone had to have somewhat of some money. But it was just an event where we all had that similarities. We all were very successful in real estate, and we had our own problems and our own issues, whatever it may be in real estate. And we all let our guard down towards each other. And I think we all got very close within like a matter of a week. Like I felt like we got very close compared to just a normal friend I would have, because, we all have that same struggles, that same like-mindedness, same entrepreneurship, kind of the same growth mentality of each other. And then we all have kind of the same problems. It was interesting to hear. And it's just great to have good friends like this in this community, and Todd is one of them. And I actually been following you on all your social media and all your content that you've been doing, and you're diving into the car wash business now, and that's pretty interesting to see. What is that like? You're doing a ground up too, and you have some live to the market right now, right? Correct?
Yeah. So it actually started, my best friend for many years, he, him and I did some real estate stuff. He was kind of a private investor on flips, and he's in the medical industry, and he just wanted to do some stuff. And his son, who's a phenomenal young man, was out in Virginia, retired from the Air Force, and they started kicking around the idea of doing a express car wash. His son went to, I didn't even know they had this, right? But he went to the car wash university. Okay. Wow. I didn't know it existed, but it does. And he went to that. He worked in a car wash for a little bit as a manager, and they really started designing the concept. So I came in initially as a private investor on that. Mm-hmm. And then as we just started talking more, I'm like, why am I just not in the deal with you guys? Like, let's blow it up. Right. And, I'm all about scale. So whatever I do, I'm 100 miles an hour. Yeah. If you tell me to go milk a goat, I'm going to milk 300 goats, because that's just, that's just how I am. Yeah. So we kind of got together and we said, man, let's just make this official. And our Suffolk, Virginia location is, it's set for grand opening like the second week of December. So we're really pumped to get that off the ground. And then we have several other developments. And what's kind of cool is I'm a real estate guy, invest, homes and flipping and wholesaling and all that good stuff. Yeah. So we have a prime downtown Dayton location that we purchased for like pennies, $375,000 for 3 acres. Okay. Yeah. And we're doing a really cool express car wash townhome development that's going to really revive a part of the city that has been neglected forever. So it's kind of allowing me to dig my feet at both ends of, where I really love, man. So we're pumped up about it. I knew nothing about car washes, but
yeah. How did you run the numbers behind it? How did you figure out that deal before, buying it, of course?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I hooked my best friend and his son up initially with a broker in Arizona who did like all kinds of specialty loans. Yeah. And that guy introduced him. And this is like, and you talk about Maui a little bit and how cool it is to have friends and people that like are all treading the same tracks. Networking and relationships are so powerful, right? Like we all know that. But this broker that I hooked him up with for their lending, he hooked him up with a consultant that's all this guy does. It's like he sold millions and millions of dollars worth of car washes of his own. but that's all he did was consulting for people that want to do express car washes. So
Yeah.
he really helped with the very first one and put together the entire business plan based on history and matrix, and like the performers that they create is like crazy, right? Even right down to like what your traffic count is and how
Hmm.
much your capture rate of that is going to be, how much would be subscriptions. Like, so he helped us with that first one. And then now all the other ones we're kind of, we still use him, but you kind of get used to the numbers and you understand how it's going to perform. And then kind of like when we started in real estate, when, podcasts started getting big and internet stuff started getting big, I've been just diving all in, right? Like I've been diving
Yeah.
all in on the content, trying to make myself an expert in it. So, I don't know if the numbers are true yet. Everybody tells me they are, but we'll see here in a couple months.
Yeah. You get thrown right into it. So he was a consultant basically to help analyze it first,
Yeah, we
basically.
paid a we paid a heavy chunk. I mean,
Yeah.
he made a good amount of money to consult, and but he did everything.
Yeah.
He helped go through the process about what type of design, like everything to which way a car should turn and how your
Yeah.
building should look and where you
Really.
want to, like, do you want to be close to a grocery store or a carry out or a school or whatever it is, and right down to the equipment, what type of
And even
equipment you should.
he helped with the lender too, because it's a specialty loan or
Yeah.
yeah.
He helped with the lender, and that's part of, the cool thing about Express Car Wash is like any business is you can do a 7A SBA loan on them, right? Which allows you
Mm-hmm.
to only be
Yeah.
10% down. Now you cap
Yeah.
out really
Yeah.
fast, because 5 million is like your cap on an SBA.
For anyone listening out there, it's a small business loan. You can get it very easily. Oh, sorry, not easy. It takes 6 to 9 months. It's a
Mhm.
long process, right? You did it right. It's a long
Yeah.
process, but it's a great terms. 90%. They fund most of it, your whole thing.
Yeah, so that's one of my partners. They did the SBA loan on that first one, and then like the date and location that we're doing our second one that we had that we're going to get up and running. Like I'm pulling the SBA on that, and
Yeah.
then we have a third partner of the company. He'll pull a third SBA, but then after that, you're capped out. So you got to kind of go the conventional route and come up with 20-25%, for the new build. But we're doing ground
Yeah.
up, and it's been really cool. But I'll tell you, I've been so impressed with our builders in Virginia. They've just cranked this building out, man. Like every day, it looks like a brand new building. It's so much easier than flipping houses. And I watch all yours, and I'm a huge fan of yours and your content. I watch every video that I catch, and you
Thank
do
you.
some amazing houses out there. So
Thank
I'm
you.
always cool about the rehab, like the development piece of it. Like there's just something that I love about it, and watching the building go up has been super cool. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, ground up's pretty interesting too because you can really create it from scratch and you get to pick everything. And with a flip, you're kind of stuck to that layout or that position, whatever. You can really specialize it. You know, but oh, that's interesting. I like the car washing business. Actually, I've been intriguing me a lot about it because actually I've just started investing some other businesses ourselves. With businesses in general, you can 10x a lot faster than real estate. You can really grow, your cash flow or whatever it may be compared to real estate. It is real estate is a safer process, of course, but it's a long-term play. But with a business, you can really really make a lot more money faster. You can scale them a lot faster with different forms of marketing and sales, basically. And
Well, what's really cool is I watch trends. Like I want to see what the really incredibly successful people are doing around us, right? And
mhm,
they usually give you an indication of where you should be at. And what you've seen is you've seen a lot of private equity groups that were syndicating apartment deals,
mhm,
and you see a lot of those groups that are jumping over into the express car wash and they're syndicating the car wash deals, right? Which makes sense. And what's so unique about it, and I'm not there yet. Like we're ready to syndicate a couple and see how it goes, but what I can't wrap my head around is when you look at apartment syndications, a lot of guys are doing, like the GP will keep 60%
mhm.
and the investors will have 40% or 50-50 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the numbers are so unreal in the car wash business that to get people to their double digit returns or to their target IRR, you don't have to give up that much equity percentage, right? And the crazy thing about these car washes is that right now in our current market, they're trading at like an 8-9 multiple on net income, right? So you build a $4 million car wash, it's doing just around $1 million net before debt service. Those things are trading at like 8-9 million. Like it's unreal. The numbers in car
You can
washes
almost
are
you can flip
ridiculous.
it.
And
You can
yeah, I
flip the
mean,
business
you don't
if you
get it.
wanted to.
You don't get that in multifamily and apartment deals. Like it's just
Not
it's not that
n-
crazy.
not that fast. Not that fast for sure. That's crazy. I mean, and everyone's going to need that business. Everyone needs car washing, so it's not something that goes away. Not like we're buying less cars.
Not at all.
So that's your new passion. Are you still focused on some of the other stuff? I mean, it's probably taking a lot to focus on the car washing stuff. I mean, with your brokerage running, you have a bunch of agents and so forth and all
Yeah,
that.
we're I'll say that like the car wash piece, it's kind of cool being partners with my friends.
Mm,
And I'll tell you, I'm impressed every day by how quickly they became experts in the business without even having a car wash.
mm,
And it's just like it's so nice having partners because I don't partner on stuff like in real estate investing. I never partner with anybody. I didn't syndicate
yeah.
deals. But it's really nice having partners because they're kicking in, they're doing, applications for zoning and they're working with engineers and architects, and I don't have to do everything. And it's
Yes.
just so nice. But on the real estate side, my property management team, my realtors, everything that we do, I've automated so much of that. And I have such an
Mm,
incredible team around me that I've brought in that
mm,
they allow me to really do what I want to do, what I'm passionate about. And without them, without my teams, man, and you know this, you got teams
yeah.
around you too. Without them, I couldn't do half the stuff I do. But it's
Allows
really
you time
cool.
to think. That's the biggest thing. Allows you to think about the car washing business and understand and learn. You have to learn it. It takes away from everything else you're doing.
Well, what I think about all the time is when 2 years ago when we were in Maui together, one of the groups we were in, we had a big breakout
Mhm.
where we talked about being the visionary of your company, right? Like, do you want to
Yeah.
work in your company? Do you want to be the visionary? And I really took that to heart. And I came back and told my wife, which got me in trouble. I said, look, I'm going to be the visionary of our relationship. So I'll tell us what we're going to do. I just need you to do it. Right. So tonight I want to have chicken. And
Yeah.
now that didn't
Right.
work. That didn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Right.
But, but I told my teams, I said, this is really what I want to do. Right. Like I want to stop working in my business so much. I want you guys to run it. I want to give you the length and the rope to make the decisions. I want you guys to feel empowered. And they all have really just ran with it, man. And they've been really credible, which has allowed me to just kind of step back and have that bird's eye view
Mm.
and really just manage all the different companies. Cause we have, we have like 8 or 9 companies between my wife and I right now. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah. It's a lot to manage, a lot to think about, and a lot of employees to keep not keep happy, but employees are really important to me. You always want to keep that relationship strong, like their family, so you have
Yeah.
to cultivate that. And I take time and take energy to talk to them and see how they're doing. So it does take a lot to run a company. And Fridays is payday, so you have to be ready for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
That's interesting. So how did the car wash thing come about anyway? Because I've seen you're buying that lot, and I don't think you were anticipating car wash at first, right? You're going to do a multifamily on that lot at first, right? The
No,
other
we
lot.
had the one in Dayton, we
Yeah.
had planned for a car wash the entire time. Now,
Oh,
when
you
we
did, yeah.
first went to the city and we said, hey, here's what we want to do. We want to do a car wash. They said, absolutely not. You're not putting a car wash in downtown. Like it's
Hmm.
not happening. So we said, okay, how can we incorporate an entire product into it and bring in some very modern urban townhomes, kind
Hmm.
of that crowd that's wanting to live in the downtown area. And we put together some really nice renderings and we went back to the city and worked with them and they said, all right, we're all in. So,
Hmm.
so we always had a vision for that, but it took a little bit to get there with the city.
Yeah, people don't realize that's probably the hardest process of all this. When you do a ground up, it's working with the city, doing the permits, the plans, getting getting variances and so forth. Todd's kind of just passing it over like it was no big deal, but it's a lot of legwork. It's a lot of paperwork. I don't know about Ohio, but I know Hawaii is horrible to try and work with the city to try to do anything of that nature. So I'm sure it was a lot of legwork to get it
Well,
all set up.
the city can, no matter what, even if you're zoned correctly, the city can either make your project happen or they can make it not happen. They can
Yeah.
also cost you a lot of money. One of the things we learned in Virginia, and I didn't, I wasn't a car wash guy, so I didn't know all this, but car washes, these express car washes, they use what's called reclamation systems, where the water goes into the holding tanks and then it gets filtered back out, and they reuse the water over and over, so that you're not putting so much runoff into the storm drains, or into the drains of the city. So when we did our pro forma in Virginia, it wasn't planned to have that, right? So the city kind of 11th hour came back and said, yeah, you need to put a reclamation system in. We're like, okay,
Mm.
what's that going to cost? Well, it's like $75,000 per tank. And then the system's like
Jeez.
another $60,000, $70,000, whatever the number is. I don't even know exactly, but it was well over $100,000 to do the reclamation system. And then
Mm.
come to find out we couldn't find the holding tanks. So then our project got delayed. But you don't think about some of those things, but every city you're in, they have the control, they have the power. Even if it
Yeah.
doesn't say it in the code, they have the power to either make your life really easy or a little bit more difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like the police in the industry. Anytime even a building inspector comes onto my job, I'm like just at mercy to them. They're like a police officer to me. That's the way I treat them. That's
Yeah, for
interesting.
sure.
But let's take a little bit of a turn. So let's talk more about how did you figure out the funding for this kind of deal? Because ultimately, that's a lot of people's new to old to, how do you figure out the funding? How do you raise capital for the deal, and how do you structure funding and so forth?
Yeah, so I don't want to, I think one of the things that I hate on the internet is all of the gurus and content creators that make real estate and make business seem so easy.
Yeah,
So I by no means want to make jumping into an express car wash or multifamily seem easy, because it's hard and it's
it's
grind.
hard. Yeah,
I'm very blessed in my life that we've been super successful with real estate and our other business ventures, that I can fund most deals myself. So far we haven't had to raise funds. Between the partnership, we've been able to
mm,
coming up with our funds and take care of that. But now we're in a position where we got to scale. So it comes time that, all right, we got to start looking at maybe syndicating these car washes, right? And learning that process of syndicating that opposed to syndicating an apartment deal. That's a new education for me. So we're kind of at the beginning stages. We're going to have some offerings here soon. I just don't know what they're going to look like yet, because the numbers are just like crazy. Like they're all over. Like they're not the same as apartments. So we're really trying to come up with a good deck and
yeah.
be able to pitch that, because it's going to be a really huge opportunity for some investors that want to make some crazy returns.
So initially you used the SBA to fund everything. They just 90%. They funded land and everything, build up to 90%, and then you guys just brought 10% to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was it. I mean, it was about, I don't know, it was like $400,000 we had to bring to the table on the Virginia one. This
yeah.
Dayton one is, because land was so cheap, our build in Dayton is actually a little bit cheaper because we don't have to bring in all the infrastructure this time. So I think we're like 370 to 380,000 cash that we got to bring in on the Dayton deal. We
Mm,
purchased the land for 375. So our injection money is like already there, right? So as soon as the SBA loan goes through, then everything else is funded at that point, you
mm.
know,
Because
except for
it
the
basically went
contractor
towards
change orders and stuff.
it went to the land purchase basically. So the
Yeah,
SBA
absolutely.
loan will include the land purchase and everything in the
Yeah.
whole deal. That's
But once
interesting.
you get beyond that, the conventional loans are 25%, right? So you're talking a $4 million build. So every build after our third one, now we're going to have to find $1 million, right? So even the wealthiest start running out of money a little bit here at some point.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah. Be interesting to see how you syndicate it. Actually, I know a guy who does some syndicates for car washes. I'll turn you on to him after. He also has ATMs. Actually, I'm checking out myself. They do ATMs and they build up car washes. I'll send you their site.
Yeah, awesome.
Um,
I love that.
let's turn it to a little bit of different topic. Since we met in Maui and we hung out in Maui, it was a lot of education and growth. We both learned just about one of the things I think everyone struggled with there was scaling your company, and what to pay your guys as you scale, and then of course our work slash personal life balance of this business. Of I feel like as entrepreneurs, we almost it's I hate to say it, but we have to suffer a little bit in our personal life sometimes to grow our business, because our business becomes our passion. I don't know what to say about it. But what are some good takeaways you got out of our Maui group, or some educational stuff as the listeners and people out there? I love to kind of give back to them and see what some good takeaways you think they will
Oh
appreciate.
man, look, this is an easy one for me. Several years ago, I had a phenomenal mentor, not necessarily in real estate, but in business. I had a really great mentor, and he helped me buy my very first quad.
Mm,
And when he saw that, there's two things that happened in that relationship. The first time that I ever wrote him a large check because he invested on a flip deal with me, I wrote him like $150,000 check. And I said to him, I said, John, this is painful, man. Like, this is painful writing you a $150,000 check.
jeez.
He said, is it though? Like, is it really painful? He's like, or does it give you some like just relief to the soul that you have the ability to now write a $150,000 check that you never had that ability before, right? And so that was the first thing. But what he said immediately after that was this. He said, look, he's like, you're having success, and I know that you're going to push and you're going to keep going further. And eventually you're going to be in that 1%, and you're going to be, building wealth. And what's going to happen is you're going to stop fitting into your neighborhood that you currently live in.
Mm.
Friends that you have around you, some will stay, some will have to go, because not everybody's going to support you. People will not want to root for your success. People will be jealous. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find different crowds to put yourself into, and you're going to feel lonely. And the more wealth that you build, the more success that you have, the lonelier you're going to feel in business. He's like, you need to start preparing yourself for that.
Mm.
So when I came out to Maui, that was the first mastermind that I ever did. And I was hesitant whether I wanted to come out there or not, but I did. And I'm so thankful I did, because what I found in that room was I found people that I instantly connected with, guys like you and Bruce, and I mean, so many other people that I just like, man, these are genuine good people. But the one thing I took away from that is sometimes when we're in our own area, when we're in our own city and we're doing our thing, you don't always have people to talk to that have the same struggles as you, right? Like for you are an amazing business guy in Hawaii. You're doing crazy stuff, like all kinds of flips. And, I'm so motivated by you when I watch your videos and when we talked in Maui. But I know that at some times you're like, man, I got to come up with 300,000 or 400,000. I got to come up with $1 million for this deal. And you're stressing the whole week and the whole month. And you're like, where the hell am I going to find these funds from? Or I got this change order. I got a stop work order on this project. If you try to go to some of your regular friends with those types of problems and you're like, man, I can't figure out how I'm going to find this $1 million.
Yeah.
People don't understand that, right?
Yeah.
So being in that Maui mastermind, having guys like you and gals that we met, it lets you know that there's other people out there that have the same struggles and understand what you're going through. And it gives you really an outlet to have people you can talk to that understand those things, where in your normal day life, you don't always have those people around you that get your problems, right?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I think it was me, you, and Megan were like, I don't know, little gang. We're hanging out a lot. And it was fun because, yeah, we really related. And then we had our little kind of groups where we broke off to, I remember, an event. And what I liked or I hated, I guess, about it was we would go around and answer our questions and share kind of our struggles. But the other people in the group couldn't give you advice. They couldn't tell you what to do. Yeah. You had to kind of come up with they can ask questions, and then it made you come up with your solutions, personally, which actually I really appreciated, because, it's nice when somebody tells you advice sometimes, but it's better when you come up with your own answers, as we know the answers a lot of times. Yeah, it's so true what you said, how we all have the same struggle in this business, I feel like, and it's no matter where you are. I remember we had some heavy hitters in that group, and everyone's got that same struggle of growth and juggling, growth and juggling, trying to do it all. We didn't really talk about your upbringing and all that, but you want to touch on some of the things you did before all of this business? I mean, you've been doing real estate for a long time, and you grew up in Dayton as well.
Yeah, I actually was born I was born in Dayton, but I grew up in Riverside, Ohio, which is a little, it's not, I wouldn't call it a suburb, because then people think it's something nice. But a little town that borders Dayton called Riverside. And yeah, man, I grew up in the trailer parks. My family was, pretty poor. My mom made it to 8th grade. She didn't work. Yeah. My dad worked, 3 jobs to put food on the table. Bankruptcy, my dad filed several times. Didn't really have a great relationship with my parents. We didn't get along, but, I wasn't taught anything about finances or money. Yeah. Or, I mean, my dad didn't even teach me how to shave. Right. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can relate to some of the, that type of upbringing. So when I graduated high school, I went into the police academy, became a police officer. I did that for, full time for like 5 years. And then I was a corporate investigator. I just traveled the country for a large retailer and interrogated people. But there was only 2 things I knew in my life, and that was how to be an athlete and how to be a police officer. And outside of that, I knew nothing, man. Like my first house was foreclosed on. My car was repossessed from my wife, her driveway at the time. And when that happened, that's when I decided I got to figure things out. Right. Like I sucked at money management. And that was like the end of 2011, 2012. And I just made a decision. I flipped the light switch and said, I got to figure out something that I can do. And when I looked at everything around me that made money, real estate was the easiest, right? Like I'm not good at math. I wasn't great at school. I mean, I got good grades, but I knew that if I bought a house for $100 and I sold it for 200, I made somewhere uh, between that
Something.
margin, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I said, well,
yeah,
this shit, I can do this, right? Like I can figure this out. And that's how my journey started, really.
yeah. So, do you remember early on when you first started, what kind of struggle that was to grow? And it seemed like it was easy, but it wasn't, and coming up with the financing, finding the money, finding the deal. Do you remember what that was all like? I mean,
It was tough, man. Right. So I was fortunate that I had $10,000 in my police retirement account.
mm,
And then my mentor in business, I went to him and just said, hey man, if I find a quad for $20,000, will you give me the other 10,000? We'll partner on it. Now
mm,
this was 2012, completely different market. Dayton, Ohio hadn't hit wasn't on anybody's radar yet. So we ended up buying our first quad for $21,000. And it took everything I
jeez.
had to convince and it didn't need any rehab, by the way, but it took everything I had for me to spend that 10,000 because I thought I was giving up everything, right? Like that was so much money to me at the time.
Yeah.
And I had to convince my wife. I said, I know that my house got foreclosed on. I know my car got repossessed, but can I spend $10,000 on an apartment building? And that was hard, And
Do you still
very
have that
quickly,
building today? Do you have it today?
man, that building is like the gift that keeps giving. So I had it on land contract years ago, and I
Yeah.
had a land contract to a guy for a year, and he paid me like 40,000 down. And then like at month 11, he stopped paying me. So I took the building back. And then a week later, I sold it cash to somebody for $85,000. Um, and then that person ended up becoming a really great friend of mine. We ended up partnering on some multifamily stuff together. And now I manage that building for one of my buddies. So it's still in my life.
That's interesting. Can't get rid of it in a good thing, in a good way.
Yeah, it's a good building, man. Solid brick quad. That's kind of what we love here in the Midwest.
You got a lot of quads and you got a lot of multifamily and stuff like that too, as well. You have property manage as well. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. My doors, I built my portfolio off market, just grinding off market deals, driving for dollars, cold calling. So my portfolio was really built with triplexes and quads and some five
Mm,
units. And it wasn't until I had started having some really good success because when I got into real estate, I didn't know about private money. I didn't know about hard money.
mm,
I didn't know how to get a DSCR loan. I didn't know about cash refinancing. I didn't know about burring. Like I didn't know any of that. Right.
yeah.
So it took me 4 or 5 years to really figure out how to buy more properties. And it wasn't until I started putting myself out there networking a little bit that I started hearing what everybody else was doing. So yeah, my first, I'd say 300 units were all quads, all tries. But now we have 24, 40 unit buildings.
Mm-mm,
So we got some bigger properties now. And that's kind of our sweet spot. We like value add, C minus,
mm-mm.
anywhere from the 20 door count up.
Mostly all in Dayton. Is that where they're mostly located?
Yeah. Most of our properties are in Dayton. I mean, we'll stretch a little outside towards Columbus and Cincinnati, but Dayton is such a phenomenal market, and we have
Mm,
so many out-of-state investors. Most of my clients, from a realtor standpoint, property management, are from California, and
mm,
actually, most of my clients from California, or like New York. So everybody like flocks to Dayton to invest because the barrier of entry is still low,
mm,
and the cash flow is still incredible because while our barrier of entry is still low, our rent increases have been steadily going up, right? And
mm.
on a quad in Dayton, your cash flow should be right around 1,100, $1,200, which is pretty darn good considering the prices that you get them for, and that's your net. So we have people flock here. So I've always asked myself, like, why would I go anywhere else, right? Like, if everybody wants
Yeah.
to come to Dayton to invest, why would I go outside of
Yeah.
the
You
outside of
got
the
some
area? It doesn't make any
you got some
sense.
killer deals and you can buy them for cheap. Why not? Yeah. And
Yeah,
they're
for
easy to
sure.
manage when you're in your backyard, of course. I mean, when you can drive to it, it's always feels a little easier to manage sometimes.
Now, what about you, man? I've been watching you. You're all over the place, dude. You're doing stuff kind of
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. Once we got out of that, I don't need to drive to places. I don't even drive to my rehabs here in Hawaii. So once I figured out I don't really need to drive to places, we started growing in statewide and so across the US as well. And it's pretty exciting to keep growing. We're buying a big strip mall right now in Janesville, Wisconsin, a 12 cap, really killer deal. Sometimes you just find these great deals and they're not, where you want to buy or what exactly. I remember when I first started, I just wanted to flip a condo in Waikiki, like super easy. Condos are easy. There's no roofs, no
Yep.
yards. And that didn't happen. I found a house and it was way above what I wanted to buy it for. But that's what I think this business is about. You sometimes find a deal and it's not where you wanted it, but it's a deal. and that's what I just figured out. I find a lot of deals now, and not exactly in my backyard. Somebody's going to do it. We do have a question, actually. Let's go through a question. One of our people asked this question. Hi, this is from Kiana. Hi, I'm trying my hardest to grow and make more money, but sometimes when I see people my age who started off with more or farther in life, it's hard not to feel like my rough path growing up in poverty with family issues is still holding me back. How can I let off my past so I can stay focused on my future? So that's a good one, because you have a colorful past. I have a colorful past, and it's interesting that because people think you need to have money to start in this business, but you just said it yourself. You have a colorful past. You didn't have no one helping you at the beginning. So, how would you share to somebody who's got a colorful past and is trying to figure out life moving forward?
Well, I think you probably see it all the time because people reach out to us on social media all the time, right? And
Mhm.
I see so many people that want to talk about their past and like, I don't have the knowledge. I grew up poor, and I relate with those people so much. And what I really learned early on is when I first started with real estate, most of the people in my life were negative. Most people didn't support my vision. Like, why would you want to buy real estate? You're going to lose all your money. Like, that's the dumbest thing you could ever do. And so one of the first things that I had to do early in my life was I had to remove those people from my circle. I had to
Mhm.
remove all the negativity
Yes.
in my life, right? You're either going to be my friend, you're either going to ride die with me, or you can get out of my life, right?
Yeah.
And that's the first step. And some of that included my family. I had to remove some of the family from my life that was negativity, and I had to put myself around people that were positive, that have the same visions. And kind of like we talk about Maui, right? Like, you have to inject yourself into rooms that you don't feel
Mhm.
like you belong in until you feel like you belong in them, right? You have to be super comfortable doing the uncomfortable things. And don't ever think for 1 second that your past or things that you've done or how you grew up will hold you down, because there's so many people in our industry. I think of people that have gotten out of prison and turned into crazy multi-million-dollar portfolios. And I know a realtor that I'm super close with that was in prison for a little bit and now comes out as this kick-ass realtor that people trust and want to come to. And you can always overcome it, but the only person that can help you overcome that is yourself, right? So until you understand that your
Yeah.
past isn't going to affect you and that you're not going to let it affect you, nobody else will accept that either.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's actually interesting because I just came back I went to Lanai with my buddies that I grew up with. And, they're just normal dudes, drink and smoke weed. And they're just, the friends I grew up with. So I just came from that kind of mindset mentality where it was good. I got to turn it all off, and I got to, be like I was when I was a kid. And I don't drink or nothing, but we went diving, we went fishing. They're drinking and just hanging out, and it was nice to kind of turn it all off. But then you come back, and we're in this environment where our brains are just going 100 miles an hour, and the people, like Todd is saying, it's super important. That's why I'm friends with Todd, just to hang around and talk to, because our minds are both probably traveling that same direction 100 miles an hour. And it's so important, if you're around these other people like this, because you kind of just rub off, and your ideas and the things that they're working on and the things you may be working on, it kind of just rubs off on each other. And even if you can help each other or not, it's not about that. It's about um you know just the commonality of it all. So if you can get rid of those people in the past, it's great. Or for me, I just put them off until I want to get away from a life for a little bit. And then put yourself around some high level individuals. And, the saying is, you never want to be the smartest guy in the room. You always want to be the guy in the room who doesn't, know much, and you keep growing. And that's why I joined Maui Mastermind. That's why I joined that group, to put myself in those kind of rooms. And if you can't be in those kind of rooms, even just networking events or different kind of social gatherings, there's plenty of REI meetups, and find a mentor. Actually, a big thing I would share with anybody new out there who's trying to take from somebody like us is see what you can give before you can take. See what kind of value you can add into that mentor's life. Um, can you help them? Don't buy them lunch. Don't buy them coffee. We can afford a $20 lunch. We're not worth $20. See what kind of value you can add. Can you help them, whatever they're working on, help them find investors, help them find deals, help them whatever. See what value you possibly can add if you want to take some time away from us. So that would be a good thing, because I'm sure you get the emails too sometimes of where can I, they just want to, some people ask so many questions, and you can't provide all those answers sometimes. People ask, who's my private money lenders, who's my escrow, where do I get my deals from, and who's my contractors, and that's kind of personal information.
Well, I think what people forget is they forget how much time you put into finding your private money, finding your investors, finding, your lenders and your
Yeah.
title companies, right? Like, so I, I like to be nice to everybody that reaches out to me. I try to talk to them a little bit, but you just can't do it. I mean, when you're posting content, and you post a lot more than me, so I'm sure you get a ton more than me, but I still get blown up. And I always want to ask them, like, what makes you think that you deserve to get all this free information, right? Like,
Yeah.
people pay me $5, $10, $20,000 to mentor them in real estate.
Yeah.
And you think I'm going to give you every answer? I'm going to give you the secret sauce, right?
Yeah.
All in
Yeah.
one DM like that. And you're right. I agree with you so much. You got to find a way to add value to their business, and eventually they will give value back to you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. My right hand man, Johnny, he came at me, and he wanted to learn from me and everything, but he added value. He found me a private money investor for one of our deals, and he added value. And I took the time actually after that, and I showed him the ropes and everything. And he turned out to be a great guy, because he came to me with value to add, which is pretty interesting that somebody would think that way. I just want to take a quick second, and if you're enjoying our content, please subscribe below. I love it if you guys can leave us a review or a comment, or let me know what you guys thought. I love honest feedback, and I love hearing what you guys think. The last segment, let's talk about, normally we talk about our deal highlights of the week. Is there any specific deal you want to talk about that you need, I don't know, that you work on, or you need funding for, or whatever? Is there any deal that you want to bring up to everybody?
Well, I think really for us, the only thing that I'm working on right now that's kind of a big thing is what we talked about earlier. We're kind of figuring out the syndication piece for the car wash, and what our offerings are going to look like. So, that's certainly it. We're going to be looking for investors for some car washes. They're going to have some crazy returns here soon.
Yeah.
But I think my deal highlight is actually in 2 days, I'm closing. My wife and I are closing on our dream home.
Oh, wow.
So we're doing that. We have a nice home now, but
Yeah.
we don't spend a lot of money on ourselves, like we
Yeah.
just don't. Like,
What
if
are you
she
guys
didn't bring
buying?
me,
So you bought a new house,
yeah, yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
we're buying right across the street from Dave Chappelle. I don't know if you
Yeah.
follow
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle, but he
Yeah.
lives out in Yellow Springs. So we found a really cool house that's been on the market for 3 or 4 years, big estate with some land, and
Yeah.
super modern, and we're really pumped about it,
How
and
big's the
we're excited to
house?
grow up here.
How much land, and how big's the house? I'm in a completely different market here in Hawaii, so I like to hear.
It's 11 acres. 11 acres. The house is about
Jeez.
8,000 square feet.
Wow.
Super modern pool. Has a zip line across the property. My son's like in love with.
8,000
Um,
square foot house. My house now sits on 8,000 square feet of land.
that's Hawaii is completely different, man. Right?
Yeah.
So
Geez, you're gonna need like a little Segway to get around your house, a little scooter to walk around that thing.
yeah, I think buying my personal house has been more stressful than the multi-million-dollar real estate deals that we do, right? And
Yeah.
because when it's a commercial deal, you can find lending pretty quickly. You can find it pretty easy. Like, we all know that. But
Yeah.
anytime you're like, okay, I'm ready to buy my personal home, it's like a colonoscopy with the banks, man. I
Yes.
even did a
Yes, it
bank
is.
statement loan, like,
Yeah.
because guys like us, we can't get regular loans usually, because
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
businesses are so jacked up.
Yeah.
But it's just simple stuff. Like, it's like every day they want 2 or 3 additional
Yeah.
things, and I'm like, you know what?
They
I'm
want
like, I
your
should have
blood,
just said this was an investment
your blood
property, and we'd
type,
already
your
had
hair.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, your blood type, your hair color, your age, sex. They want everything, and it's. I
Yeah.
hate dealing with
Absolutely.
banks. Yeah, they want your DNA sample, and I know the struggle. Yes, I sometimes will just buy with hard money and then refinance later, just because I don't want to deal with them.
I'm the same, and that's everybody's like, well, why would you pay? I mean, I get pretty good on hard money. I'm down around 8 on hard money, but when I first
Yeah.
started, I was paying 12,
Hmm.
13%. People's like,
Yeah.
why would
Yeah.
you pay that much? I'm like, because it's so much easier, right? Like,
Yeah. It
I'll
is.
pay the extra interest for 6 months
Yeah.
just to make
Totally.
it that much easier. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
there's something about efficiency that makes it worth it.
Yeah. Get control now with the property if it's a deal, and refinance later to if you're going to keep it or sell it. No, it's people often worry about the hard part of the beginning of finding money or finding a deal, but hardest part is finding a deal. So people need to
I agree
find a
with
deal
you.
first. You can find the money after, or you can partner, or you can JV, or
Yep.
whatever it takes. But cool, man. It was good talking to you. Where can all the listeners out there? Where can they find you on social media and all the different channels? And what kind of stuff do you have going on social media and all that?
Well, I wish I had as
What's
much
your
time or energy to do all the social
what's your
media that you're doing.
Instagram
Yeah.
handle and stuff like that?
Yeah, all of them are pretty much the same. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, they're all Todd Pultz or Todd Pultz official. So just my name. I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah, yeah. And do you answer on your Instagram and stuff so people can message you on there?
Yeah, Instagram's probably the easiest one. I try to respond to everybody on Instagram that reaches out to me,
Yeah.
at least one or two messages until it gets too deep.
Yeah, yeah. Ask so email Todd or message him 100 messages, guys. Ask him a million questions.
If you want to get blocked.
Yeah. No, guys, ask questions. It doesn't hurt. We all were in that same position, so we know what it's like. Um, but yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Thank you for subscribing and listening. And please keep commenting and messaging us on our podcast and all the different channels. This is Indar. I'm a Hawaii Money Guy. And please follow us on our socials, Indar Hawaii, of course, and all that good stuff. I just love reading all the comments. I do take the time to read it all. And thank you guys so much. And thank you for having Todd on today. And thank you guys. Really appreciative. And thank you guys. Aloha. Thank you, everybody.